This is where the fun begins.
The fate of the galaxy is now in your hands. With the new LEGO Star Wars Slave 1, you can load Captain Solo, arm your weapon systems, man the cockpit, and take off with the most feared ship in the galaxy. But watch out for rebel ships. No matter the enemy, no matter the firepower, you control the action. With the new LEGO Star Wars collection.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thursday morning coffee chat. This is OG Star Wars, and welcome to my channel. If you are just coming on and curious on what coffee chat is, and we have people trickling in, so we'll give some time before we get into some of the fun stuff that we're going to discuss here, including the cringe factor. So if you follow me on Twitter, you will find out what the cringe factor, or you may have seen, or maybe notice what we're going to talk about for cringe factor. I had two options, and I went with the one that I posted just recently. And I'm just throwing out hints here. It's in the title. It's about Grievous. So stay tuned for that. And good morning again. And what is in your mug here? I have this one going on today, and I have coffee with a little bit of oat milk that is sweetened with a little bit of vanilla. So there you go, you guys, and good morning. And I see Orange Hat is in the chat and a channel member. Thank you again. And please press the like button and share out that we are live. Yes, and it's just me. I just had a special guest last week, going back to regular programming of it just being me and discussing Star Wars with you guys one-on-one. This is what this is all about. And he says, can't wait to see how cringe covers my boy Grievous. And hello there. Yes, Anakin Skywalker, how are you doing? And welcome, welcome, welcome. And I am doing pretty well here. And before we get started as well, I want you guys to go and take a vote on the poll, your favorite regions. So the galaxy, the regions of the galaxies, we have the core, which are the colonies basically, and that, and then some, and then it goes out to like the mid or inner rim, mid rim, and there's more. There's the deep core as well. And then you go into the mid rim, eventually make it out to the outer rim territories, and then you have wild space and then unknown territories. So I got to turn those off, my notifications on choose snooze for my phone. It rings out onto my computer here. So if you hear dings, that's what's going on. Yeah, so choose which one you like, which one is your favorite. And so far, core has 17%, inner rim 0, mid rim 50%, and outer rim territories 33%. And that's where the Star Wars story begins, is in the outer rim. And we see it with with the original trilogy, and not so much with the PT. That begins in the mid rim, but eventually moves its way towards the outer rim, because that's where Anakin is discovered and is taken as a Padawan, a youngling. Let's see what else is going on here. Let me see there we go. There's my cursor. Star Wars Mansplain. What's up? How you guys doing? It's been a while since I've been in Knights of Malvin Discord, and I need to go make my appearance in there and say hello to everybody. And so here we go. OG, peace, deuces. And what's in your mug here? Again, I have the beautiful temptress, I guess you could say, this here as Saw's Ventrance. I can't even talk today. I need some water. I didn't grab water. Damn it. Ventress. There we go. Unknown region is my favorite. Zonamasikat, the sentient force planet, went out there. Yes, I was gonna use unknown regions, but that there's no, like, that's not part of the galaxy, even though it is part of the galaxy, I guess you can say. Let's see here. And then Anakin says, I wanted to vote for the mid-rim, but the whole thing disappeared before I could vote. It should still be there. It's up. You might have to scroll up. I don't know how that works on the end. It is attached to the top of my screen on my other computer next to me, so I can keep an eye out on that. So you might have to scroll up. I don't know why it disappeared on you. Things happen. I'm sorry. Iris, how you doing? Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Yes, good morning and good afternoon. And the fourth society that we are discussing today is the Matukai. And a lot of their stories came out from the Old Republic era as well. And so we'll go through that. Like I said, I wanted to give you guys some history or discussion about non-Jedi, non-Sith Force societies, because they're out there. They're in the galaxy. They're very interesting how they came about. And they also, some of them did also affect Luke's recruitment as well. And so we'll learn a little bit more about that. Yeah, so please hit the like button and share out. Let's see here. And I am debating on if I should go with Cringe Factor first or not. Let's see here. Next time you have to do what planet from the PT is your favorite. There's so many options. You can't, it's like hard to decide. And I just want to keep it interesting for you guys and even knowledgeable. So like, if you don't know much about the galaxy map, then hopefully this will have you pull up the quote unquote Legends Galaxy, and do your research, and maybe think back, what were the movies connected to that regions, and what regions they were connected, what regions were more predominant in the EU, which the EU, it covered everything. And then Matukai, yeah, nice. I called them the Force brutes, physical use of the Force and all. I need to learn how to turn off these notifications. Let's see here. I can't find it right now. Sorry for the dinging. Ding, ding. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah. So I thought that would be a great one to discuss as well. But there's one thing I want to discuss about a Disney author who basically was like, no disrespect, and so maybe we'll do that right now. And then we'll go into the Matukai. Then we'll get into Cringe Factor. So we'll do Cringe Factor last. And so if you guys are interested, and then we'll also discuss the old order versus the new order. I thought because these all link together some way, somehow, we can get into that kind of conversation as well here. And we can discuss, I could discuss with you guys in the chat about our thoughts about the old order, new or old Jedi order versus the new. My mind is going a mile a minute sometimes so it doesn't translate out very well sometimes. And then we have Crimson Mist. How you doing? Good morning, OG. I recently bought some Star Wars EU books at a collection sale last month, and I'm psyched. That is amazing. That is great. So like if you go to yard sales, if you go to auctions, if you go to used bookstores, you can even find some bookstores that are not like Barnes and Nobles. You could probably find prints that doesn't have the Legends labels there. I've been really successful at vintage stores, antique stores. And so I've been really successful there finding the ones that have been missing and need to replace. And so that's a beautiful thing. I normally don't say, I used to say buy Legends because it shows them what we want. And I guess it does. But then you also given them money. So if you don't want to give them money to support the direction they're going with the franchise, then I suggest that you go ahead and find the books. Like even thriftbook.com, you can find even the novels that are like the Young Jedi Knights and stuff, and you can collect your series there without being too pricey. I found them there. And So those are great options there. Again, if you don't mind the Legends label and you don't mind giving the mouse money, there you go. But if you care for the direction that they're taking Star Wars and don't want to support it, then don't give them the money for the Legends covers and go out there and collect through the third parties there. So good job. I love that. Let us know which ones you got. I would love to hear about that. And those tuning in, please vote for your favorite region of the galaxy. The core region or territory, the inner rim, the mid rim, and the outer rim. Now, that's not all of those regions. There's a lot more. And I can only use 4. I could only use 4. So I try to use ones that sound more familiar, especially the core, mid rim, and outer rim. Yeah. So go vote. If you're not sure, pull up the map. Have it be the classical map or quote unquote Legends map. I think that the galaxy map has since then changed. So with the Disney lore, so I would say, I would be more accurate and pull that up and do some research. And I don't have the atlas in front of me. I thought I grabbed it because I wanted to show you guys that the atlas. If you haven't added the atlas to your collection, it's worthwhile. It only gives you history of each region, history of planets, and mind you, it doesn't have every single planet that has been brought into the galaxy. There's a few missing because of the time when it was printed. But it also gives you the history of the galaxy, what was going on during those times, like the Clone Wars, and it gives you the advances of what happened in the Clone Wars and what regions were affected, and the Yuuzhan Vong War, all of that going all the way to Legacy, and with the Fell Empire and all of that. So it is a well worth investment if you have a chance to do that. Yes. So I love talking books about you collecting and the lore and all that, and what can enrich your knowledge, because that's what this is about, is putting in front of you George Lucas era of Star Wars, enriching your knowledge. And it's so much fun exploring and getting into this complex history that people think never was tended to and never was kept. But when you get books like the Atlas and you go through and you get the history, and even Jedi versus Sith, and you go through and see the history, you know that there was so much attention and detail put into the lore, the history of Star Wars. Okay, Crimson Mist says Timothy Zahn's Thrawn trilogy, Kevin J. Anderson's Jedi Academy trilogy, Shadows of the Empire, and Splinters of the Mind's Eye. Nice. You got a nice little collection right there. With the exception of Splinters of the Mind's Eye, post Return of the Jedi. It's very, very good. That's a great find. I'm so happy for you. That's pretty cool. Let's see here. I need a bookshelf. All my books are in boxes and piles. I'm too unorganized. I have a bookshelf, but it's not big enough. So some of them, like my hardcovers, are stacked like normal, and then the paperbacks are lying down, stacked on top of each other like that. And I did run out of room, so some of them are like in front of the others. But then also too, about a quarter of my bookshelf, I'm looking down at. That's why I'm looking down. I'm looking down at it. Is Native American history, like through art and stuff, because I'm an artist, Native American as well. And then also my language dictionary, Lakota language dictionaries and stuff that I have. So like if I don't, because I'm not fluent in my language, I do understand it. I do understand a lot of words and what the gist of someone is saying, because I wasn't raised around fluent speakers where I was influenced, but my grandma knew how to speak it. I know people who are speakers, so I am very familiar. I know songs, all of that. So if I need to look up a word that I'm not too sure about, I have that there. And then plus, then I have my Lord of the Rings and my other novels in there as well. And so 2/3 of the shelf is Star Wars, and then 1/4 is, or not 2/3, 3/4. Geez, it's morning time. I can't math. And then 1/4 is non-Star Wars related stuff. And Batu is in. Hello, guys. Having having a flu. Oh, I'm so sorry that you're sick. So we'll chat when I can, but so tired. Rest up. Just listen, rest up. If you want to add a comment, feel free to. No obligation. Rest. Your health is more important. All right. Soul Assassins morning. Everybody, please hit that like button and share the stream out. And good morning, Soul Assassin. And what's in your mug this morning? Coffee's always good. I didn't eat breakfast yet either, so I'll be starving by the time we're done here. All right. Yes, Iris, hot tea and honey. Feel better. Sleep lots. Yes, get your rest. You could just listen. I appreciate you're here, and but your health is important. And then manic monochrome. It probably has a nice, better flow to it, and I probably butchered that. I'm sorry. Good times. Just finished work. Read the Thrawn trilogy, Shadows of the Empire, the Darth Vader, and Plagueis novels. Looking forward to more. Yes, those are really good. My very first book was Trusa Bakura, and I really liked it. I did. I liked the accounts, how it just flowed right out from Return of the Jedi, and how Luke was feeling from getting hit with Force lightning, and what Force lightning does to a body, what it does to a body. Very, very interesting with that. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up that little comment that a Star Wars author, this is the new Star Wars author, not the one from the past, from George Lucas era. So I'm going to pull this up. We are going to check. Okay, this doesn't want to press. Please press. There you go. And we're going to look at the comments that are given in it. So let's take a look here. So you know me, I notice things. I will reshare. I will say sarcastic things. I need to learn how to turn off those notifications on this damn thing. Yeah, and I will say something sarcastic or whatever. We are going to take a look at open airlock policies comment about this as well. So I'll pull that up after this. But this is from Daniel Jose Older, who is an author of the High Republic. And he says, no disrespect. Genuine question. Is that Luke with a frizzled mullet? And so he's talking about Prince Isildur here, from The Courtship of Princess Leia. Now, my thing is I said, he works for a company that has to keep continuity, yet he can't do, he doesn't know what he's talking about here, basically. So I kind of had a sarcastic kind of comment going towards this right here, because he goes, no disrespect. When you see someone that says no disrespect, the intentions are mockery. That's just all there is to that. And so this goes back to, Wolverton has passed away. He's the author of this book here. And this is cut out right here. And you can clearly see it's not Luke whatsoever here. And yeah, and he could just do his simple history research on the character as well. And so this was kind of a backhanded remark to me. That's how I seen that. But what is crazy is what is being said here. Now, some people are correcting him here. And we have a sarcastic reply from J. Core. Great novel that introduced an absolute ton of lore that was expanded. Oh, no, he's not the one with the sarcastic right there. Someone says, no, that's Luke and Legends THR clothing. So someone was trying to say, oh, no, it's Luke, or whatever. I don't know if that was sarcasm or whatever. And then so people are just going on either saying trying to tease it's Luke, or say it's a bad reimagine of Luke, who don't know the lore, or they're having sarcasm going on here. Just goes to show you what these authors know. Okay, so even if Legends is quote unquote not canon anymore, that's tossed aside, they're not using the lore that was established beforehand, you should know the history. You should know, it's the history of Luke, Han, and Leia in the movies, leading out of the movies into the EU. So, so you have an idea of how to write them, right? You should know that, because George Lucas is the one that approved their character arcs in the EU. So coming in as a writer who may have to write about one of these characters, mind you, I don't think he's written about Luke. I don't know exactly all of the novels that he's written for Disney Star Wars. But come on now. Know your history. Know the direction of what George wanted. Be familiar with that. And even if you don't understand, or you're looking at something and you're not quite relating it to, and you have questions as such, do your friggin' research. You have people in the company to contact, the story group, who can answer your questions, not coming on here with a sarcastic backslap remark. No disrespect. That's a bull crap. I've seen this as disrespect. Because when someone goes and says, no disrespect, you know where this shit's going. You know the intentions. So there's a lot of times when I'm reading something, or there's something that I learned through because the comics are kind of brand new to me, the Star Wars comics, because I was never a big avid reader of the comics, that I have to research. I have to go back and research. I have to go look up. I ask questions to someone. And then I talk about it. I don't say no disrespect, but because that shows that that's where you're basically going with that. Yeah. Yeah. And then let's see here. And then I know, and I'm not going to pull it up, I don't want to go look for it. But basically, open airlock policy basically said that this is in tandem with the disrespect towards Wolverton and against Struzan. I think I said his name, or whatever, the artist's name. And yeah, Struzan, he's the artist of this here. So this was disrespect towards that. And I have seen comments from Daniel Jose Older that has been smirky towards EU fans and stuff before. So there you go. Let me see what you guys say in there. Tina calls daddy. Yes. He doesn't have a mullet. No, he doesn't have a mullet. His hair is tied back in a half, I guess you could say, ponytail or something. It's drawn back. It is drawn back. Let's see. You think KK would love Isolder since he was from Matriarch Society? That would fit. The Force is female love fest. Ha ha ha. You would think so, but the Hapen, they didn't like Jedi. When he, in this novel, when he got with Tenelkal's mom, they didn't, the queen, she didn't like it. They hate Jedi. And so, but I get your point here. I get your point. Yeah. So the thing is, okay, so I'm just going to go there. If this book was written, I'm just, like I said, I'm going to go there because I'm seeing the term woke used in such, I would say, incorrect ways. I think people are so hypersensitive to it now that anything that comes out with matriarch type story like this, female leads, other cultures depicting a time frame in a franchise that like Prey, I guess you could say, that's been a hot topic lately. People automatically assume, and even the marketing that Hollywood does, because that's the trail that they've been going down, even if it's not quote unquote woke, their marketing is very cringe as well. Mind you, there are some things out there that are, and then there are things that are just bad writing, bad decisions, you know. And so I think that people are very, very hypersensitive to this, and they start seeing everything as woke, because we can't have a female character, we can't have maybe a matriarch system, We can't have maybe culture being used anymore without thinking that it's woke. And then the confusion of bad writing is woke as well. So anyways, I didn't come to preach about that, but my point is that if this book was created today, yeah, this would have been slammed because of the hapes, because he is a male and he has to toe the line with a matriarchal system and all of that, and how Luke is treated in here as well, with even the Dathomirians. The Dathomirians are matriarchs too. So this is a double whammy here. So I just invite you guys to just sit back and look at that and evaluate, is this story really woke or not? And sit back and maybe just take a glimpse back before you start making a judgment. Yeah. But anyways, I'm not here to preach about that. But let's go ahead and go. Dathomir Force Witches and the Queen Mum was livid. Yeah. Yeah, she did not like that. Hey, Miss Martin Muses, how are you doing? And those who are tuning in, what's in your mug? Or what beverage are you enjoying, or snack, or whatever? This is morning for me. I'm on the West Coast, but you could be elsewhere. So what are you enjoying? I call this coffee chat because it's a morning thing for me. So you're catching me in the morning. And so I'm sitting down having a cup of coffee with you guys, discussing Star Wars, nerding out on Star Wars and all of this fun stuff, and it's about community, grabbing a beverage, and in my culture and many other cultures probably as well, we always offer a drink as we sit down and talk, right? And so yeah, this is what this is about. Yeah. And then if you're tuning in as well, go vote for your favorite region of the galaxy. I should have put favorite region of the galaxy, but there's core, inner rim, mid rim, and the outer rim territories. Hi, babe. And so I couldn't put every single territory or region, but those are the ones I chose because they're very familiar because of the movies as well. And Coruscant is in the core, so the inner rim just, is right outside of the core there. You have the colonies and stuff like that. Very interesting. Like I said, get the Atlas book. You will learn a lot. You will learn a lot. Baby, go ahead and bring my drink to me. You're fine. They're not going to see you. I'm getting a Starbucks cappuccino. I'm excited about that. So now I'm going to have 2 sources of coffee style drinks. Just come on. They're not going to see you. Come on. Thank you. And cheers to you guys. All right. Yeah. So go ahead and vote for that. And right now the core is at 19%. Inner rim is at 5%. Mid rim 33%. And outer rim territories is 43%. So if you guys know the regions that I posted here, tell me what you like about them. And tell me what maybe you know about them. If you don't then know much about them other than that where they are on the map, that's okay. All right. And then we have Dharma here. Heya. How are you doing? So Haya is probably what you're doing. When I say that in my language, it's Hiya, and that means no. Yeah, just a little bit of that information on that. And then let's see here. Patriarchal societies, not saying I condone them, are way more stable than matriarchal ones. Yeah, it depends on too, because the Navajo Nation, before, I guess you could say settlement, colonization, whatever direction you want to call the settlement of Europeans and other nationalities that are coming from different countries to this land here. And a lot of tribes were matriarchal, but there was also a balance between the genders. And I need to go ahead. I don't do movie reviews and all of that, but I need to do one in the sake of, for Prey, not in the sake of Prey, but in the sake of probably giving some more information to Native culture because I think people are false flagging Prey as woke because they don't understand Native societies and how we function back then. I would do I was a keynote speaker at a Native American women's conferences a couple of times, and I spoke about the structure of Native families and stuff. And something that all Native tribes or nations have in common are their structures of their family and their tribal systems. But again, I'm not going to get into that. Okay. So Canadian Collector says, I was building Lego and had the Clone Wars Onderon episodes. So cringe, they made the separatists a joke. Yeah, it's crazy how they do that. Our way. Okay, let's see here. Manny Monochrome says, after afternoon for me in the UK, I am drinking water with lemon slices. Oh, that sounds so good. I love water with lemon. That's good stuff. Dermot says, Guy Ladriel, it rings of power is basically Ray Palpatine 2.0. That's what I'm seeing and hearing about that. Rodimus Prime, how you doing? Good morning from my side of the world. I hope you're doing well. OG, what EU books did George Lucas read? From what I remember, Shadows of the Empire. I know he's read like Dark Empire. Of course, Legacy Comics because of his interest with Talon, Darth Talon. I have to go back and look. There's a couple of that he didn't have time to read a lot. He read comics more, but there were a couple of ones that he had read that he wanted to gift his own staff, or maybe he did gift his staff. I have to go pull that up for you guys. Okay, like OMH, like OMH. I don't think that quite worked out for you, Matt G. Anakin Skywalker, the mid rim is my favorite because Naboo is in the mid rim. Correct, and the planet brings me very good memories. My wife is from there, you know. Yes. Guy Ladriel. Yeah. At first, it was almost like a tongue twist from like Guy Ladriel. What? Tolkien is, if he came back to life, look how they massacred my girl. And let's see here. Having Seattle's best dark roast with stevia and oat milk creamer. That sounds good. That sounds really, really good. So I just wanted to point out here that about, you know, what Jose Older said here. And I don't think it was in good faith, you know, and that what he said with no disrespect. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. Again, open airlock policy, and I retweeted his quote retweet on that. And so go take a look at that as well. He had some good points about, you know, disrespecting not only the author that's deceased, but Struzan, the cover artist of the novel. And one of the main one of the new series I'm going to have coming up shortly is going to be an artist review of the art of Star Wars. Basically, that's the novel covers, the story, concept art, all of that. I thought that would be fun to do with you guys. You hardly see that with Star Wars content creators. So I thought maybe going over and reviewing these arts, you know, like the covers of the novels, all of that, discussing that, and then comparing and showing like the covers from different regions of the world. That would be something that would be fun to do as well. So I am developing that program as well. Let's see here. Orange Hat says, I believe he read or followed New Jedi Order, the Legacy of the Force, as they involved killing off beloved characters. Yeah, he had a major say in what was going on. In everything. Like these novels are only here because he wanted them to be here, because they matched his intentions of how he wanted the characters to be and the storylines to be. If he did not like any of them, they were vetoed. So there's a huge difference. People don't realize that George was involved, and that novels that never made it into the EU happened because George didn't want them to happen. In the South, if you want to insult someone, you just add bless their heart. Yes, bless your heart. Yeah, I'm very aware of that. Bless your heart. I'm going with the core mostly because I am a city person, and Coruscant, for all is corrupted and stuff, is still a beautiful place. I love how in the X-Wing series they liberated Coruscant, but then also Isani Isard, had allowed it because she had that virus. I wouldn't say it's a nanovirus, but she did have that virus that infected other species other than humans and stuff. And so it created such a great conflict within that. So if you haven't read the X-Wing series, I highly recommend those. Let's see here. All right. So let's get into the Matukai. This is going to be just a short, because there's so much I could have written about that and gone off of. So this is just going to just be a short history. Like I said, I want to get you guys' feet wet. Dip your toes in to the lore there with curiosity on wanting to learn more, where maybe you'll go. And I provided the sources where you can find them as well in this, but maybe you want to learn more about them. Very interesting history here. And I'm going to go ahead and just have the screen here. So the four societies, the Matukai. Hopefully I said it right. Star Wars, you never know it's going to sound like unless you hear it, being pronounced correctly. I know Coruscant took a while before it got to, we heard Coruscant before, until we got to Coruscant, to how it was properly pronounced, even with the auto books and stuff like that. Whoopsie, I hate when that happens. Okay, so I don't know how many of you guys know of the Matukai, so let me know in the chat. And if you are tuning in, I have 12 beautiful souls here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and getting in the conversation with us about Star Wars and what I'm presenting here. And then we'll get into Cringe Factor after we're done with this and discuss old Jedi Order versus the new as well. So I think this will be a fun discussion with you guys regarding that. Yeah, so. And I think you guys will, it's always fun to compare both of them, especially with what Luke may have corrected, even if he didn't know he corrected it. And so again, if you're tuning in, please vote for your favorite region in the galaxy. Core, which is at 18%, inner rim, which is at 5%, mid rim is 32%, and the outer rim territories is 45%. So there you go. So please get your vote in. And then Jake Lloyd had such a problem saying Coruscant, that they cut any attempts from episode 1. So there you go. There you go. Yeah, Coruscant. It's like croissant. Croissant. All right. So let's get into the Matukai. I keep on. Stop it. It's like. Okay. There we go. All right. So it was founded around 4000 BBY. The Matukai forest traditions originated sometime before the old Sith War. So this is way, way back in history, you guys, from where we started at when Star Wars first came out. The founding individual was a human female from Grievous 2 who realized she was force sensitive while practicing meditative martial arts. So this is very interesting about like the meditative martial arts. It goes into how George loved using other cultures, inspired by basically other cultures to create new culture. And I think people they confuse that on inspired by and being inspired by to create new culture versus using it in the story. So I think people misuse or think that are what is the word I'm trying to come up? They confuse it. There you go. In that period, so I'm going on. In that period, the Jedi Order was not in the practice of collecting and isolating force-sensitive children shortly after birth. The Rusan Reformation, which instituted that practice, had yet to occur. So we're having a bit of history here. So we kind of get an idea of when the Jedi started recruiting these babies, these infants, these young Force users for the Order. And that, so if you're familiar with this, the Rusan Reformation and all the history around that, that's when that began. So a little bit of history here. Maybe we'll get into some of that later with Coffee Chat. Maybe I will eventually do some more lore videos like this channel is supposed to be doing, and we'll get into that, how they started collecting, how they started recruiting basically Force sensitives. So there we go. The Matukai were founded by, okay, so we already said that, so I repeated myself right there. The Matukai were unchecked in growth by the Jedi Council and developed into a nomadic order or of about 50 or 60 members. So we have the stages here. It so they were not checked. They were unchecked by the council as well. They really didn't have interest in them, really. Though the council eventually attempted to integrate the Matukai into the Jedi Order about 580 BBY, the Matukai was uninterested in the ways of the Jedi. They experienced precaution by the Empire, or prosecution. I can't even read too. So you're seeing Alora, OG Star Wars, just basically just not having a good morning. So they were being prosecuted by the Empire during the Great Jedi Purge. They were one of the first other organizations besides the Jedi to feel the Emperor's wrath. So now this goes back into other Force society like the Antique Monks and the others who kind of hidden away during the time frame and went underground, even though they know the purge was happening. So they didn't go out and help, or they didn't expose themselves, all of that. And then, so because they were they felt the Empire's wrath, there was a few that in their number that managed to survive and pass on their knowledge. Later, some of the surviving Matukai joined Luke Skywalker's Jedi Praxium. So this is the early stages, I believe, and it was the Jedi Praxium on Yavin 4 when he started recruiting, feeling that the new Jedi Order was less stringent than the Jedi had been in the Old Republic. And there is some truth to that. And if you are familiar, like if you have read and explored the history of Star Wars from the Old Republic, basically, the PT era of it, leading into, the post-Return of the Jedi, you will see the differences between the orders. And I always back this with the Revenge of the Sith novel on George wanting this change, because Matthew Stover is the one that worked with George on the novel, and New Jedi Order chapter has Yoda really contemplating and thinking back on where he went wrong, where the Order went wrong, and how the Sith evolved and the Jedi didn't, and that needed to happen. So we'll discuss a little bit more about that as we move on. So very interesting culture here. There goes my alerts again. Damn it. I need to learn how to turn that off. Let's see here. And I'm going to pull this up here. So our chat says, for those who don't know, Rusan Reformation was the act of disbanded armies in the Republic, correct, and outlawed them. It was called such because the Battle of Rusan during the rise of Darth Bane. Yeah, there's a lot of good history there, you guys. A lot of good history. Crimson Mist says, when I listened to the Star Wars audiobooks, Coruscant was pronounced Coruscant. Yeah, so there's Coruscant, there's all of that. There's a couple of different ways it was said before we heard it in the PT. Less stringent, the very thing that made Luke's order the best. Correct. I read that. Not sure about the Army of Light taking children to fight after all, but still Jedi fighting a battle isn't something new. Yeah. So, so we have, and Matukai, basically, they're a Force society that also taught people to harness, even if they're just a little bit sensitive, harness that. So I thought that was very interesting, but they're also a martial arts too as well. So let's go on. Okay, I think that was it. Oh, let me see, make sure I didn't skip over anything. Oh, yeah, I did. See, I hate this sometimes. All right, so we'll go back. The Matukai philosophy was centered around creating a balance and harmony between the spiritual force and the physical body, using exercise as a form of meditation. Their training involved meditative martial arts, physical training, and somatic rituals. They were noted for being able to develop a force sensitive in many beings who are not inherently gifted with the force. So, like, we all know that midichlorians does use, harness the force in the person's body, but very, very, very low counts means that you're probably not force sensitive. So they learn how to pull that from you, I guess you could say. That's just the layman term I can come up with. Using their bodies as a focus, they emphasize keeping oneself clean and strong, purifying oneself through physical activities, and avoiding the dark side. Unlike the Jedi Order, they did not use lightsabers, instead wielding a polearm weapon known as the Wan Shin. And so you see it here as well. So you see it looks Star Wars-esque. It looks primitive. So I thought that was very interesting there. So this is a little bit about what they were about, how they organize, what their philosophy or I would say their culture is about, I guess you could say. Let's see here. And how many of you guys heard about these guys? I want to know. Plagueis novel talks about the Rusan Reformation laws. I believe the episode 1 novel does too, but only a little. Yeah, I love how they go back and forth with all of this. Let's see. Matukai, the Waxia of the Star Wars world. I think I pronounced that wrong. I'm so sorry. And yes, join OGs. I'm telling you, I cannot English today. I cannot think today. Oh my God, you guys. But I'm still here with you guys. So join my community on Twitter. It's all about George Lucas era Star Wars. All of us are coming in, sharing what we love, the novels, lore, nice conversations in there, even with fan art, fan films, or whatever. So it's a great community, not Disney related whatsoever. Just to celebrate true Star Wars before it became Disney. So polearm, the guy from Rogue One, do you think he was a canon? No, there's researching the Matukai was never put into Disney Star Wars as of yet. So he is someone totally different. Let's see here. Wushai. Okay, thank you so much, Wushai. Thank you. The X always throws me off because it can go so many ways. OG, I got Darth Maul Shadowhunter as in the. Okay. Oh, let me reread that. See, I'm telling you, my mind is going quicker than I need to say. OG, I got Darth Maul Shadowhunter. Is the book good or not? It's really good. I'm not a big Darth Maul fan, but I read Shadowhunter. I highly recommend it. So enjoy. So let me see. I think I covered all of this. The little see how quick I just barely press it sometimes and it skips forward. So that was kind of annoying. Appearance and sources. So this is the information here where you can find it. Find these guys, their history, their lore, what have you. Very small. But I thought still that since, they were a part of Luke's order as well, cat, stop chewing on my wires. My cat's underneath me chewing on my wires here. This would not be fun. Okay, so because... I'm presenting them to you. I want to give you guys sources. I haven't done it before so that you guys can, research them a little bit more. Get to know them if you're curious about their society, because I only gave you a glimpse into them, what they're about. So Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, The Old Republic, The Lost Sons 3, Hero's Guide. I think the Hero's Guide is their first appearance, I believe. Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lord's Prima official game guide. So they're in the game guide. Jedi versus Sith, the essential guide to the Force. Jedi Academy training manual. Again, like I said, the Jedi Praxium, where they joined when Luke was recruiting. The complete Star Wars encyclopedia, and the Jedi Path, a manual for students of the Force. So those are resources that in appearances that they were in, and resources that you may want to look up and take a look and learn more. So even the smallest developed society or even species, they will be referenced somewhere else, some way, shape, or form. Maybe not as big as some other things that we know that are, but like the Angting monks, we hear about off and on throughout the lore as well, especially in when it gets into like Jason's sabbatical, where he goes and learns about other Force societies. And that's where, if you start reading and you get into the New Jedi Order, you get into the New Jedi Order and how Jason starts questioning and doubting and all that stuff about the Force and the Jedi and all of that. And he decides to take leave and go on a sabbatical and learn more. Then you start, and then you get further into the lore, like, let's see here, Darkness Trilogy on into Legacy of the Force, and then Fate of the Jedi. You start learning more about like where he went and all of that, and start learning more about his character and why he's acting the way he does. So there's a lot of development behind Jason when it comes to his sabbatical, and he does visit Force societies, and Fate of the Jedi does explore some of the societies that he visits to why the Jedi are going mad, and why, what took Jason down the path he did. And very, very interesting right there. Just, it's like a little thing that you can go down and just, again, get lost in. And I really, really like it. And let's see here. Batsy Universe. Hey, how you doing? Hello. Let's see here. And you are welcome. Yeah, Shadowhunter is really, really fun. I really liked it. So if you are tuning in, let me know what you're enjoying in your mug here, and what beverage you're enjoying. And please vote for your favorite region of the galaxy. The core is currently at 24%. And I'm going to have this up for another about maybe 10, 15 minutes. Inner rim is at 4%. So it hasn't really moved. And mid rim is at 28%. And the outer rim territories is at 44%. So again, like my polls are very random every Thursday. And again, it's just to get your minds thinking about what you know about Star Wars, what have you learned, and all of that, and maybe what you want to research and know more about. And so it just sparks the interest, just like the Force societies that we're doing right now. It just sparks the interest here. And I have 17 beautiful souls here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Ice cold water, Batsy says. Cold water is really good for the metabolism, and water in general is very good for you. Not like the coffee I'm drinking. Soul Assassin says, please hit that like button. Yes. And then everybody's saying hi to each other. Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on there. And we have Jim Morty. How are you doing, Jim Morty? Hello there. And then yeah, so thank you for tuning in. So now we're coming up on the hour, and now it's time to start introducing the cringe factor. So this is a new segment. If you guys are tuning in and haven't been a while since you've been here with me on Coffee Chat, this is a new segment of Coffee Chat where we go over some Star Wars news or what have you that may be like, what the hell, what the F, whatever, what the fuck. And provoke some thoughts, provoke some emotions, and all of that. So cringe factor is a new, and I still haven't done a segue kind of video. I need to do that. So I could just press that and you guys know we're going into cringe factor. So I still have to do that. I'm late on a lot of crap. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Finally got the hot tea now. Cough, cough. Yeah, I feel better. Like I said, take care of you. Let's see here. Let me get this off of here. Remove from student. There you go. Yeah. So 18 beautiful souls here now. So Cringe Factor. Dun, dun, dun. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the article right now. Let's see here. Share screen. I like the PowerPoint that I can make for you guys because it is already saved in the program here where I don't have to go and click here and click there. I just go pull up the menu and click and it's open up right away. So I like that. That's very, very easy to do. Let's see here. If I'm on the side here, maybe not. I will stay out. You guys don't need to see my face, do you? Let's see here. Why is Yoda such a good gardener? He has green fingers. Ah, I get it. He's got, well, green thumb. Yeah, green fingers, green thumb. I think he only has like 4 fingers, I believe. Yeah. Let's see here. I have peach coffee again. Peach coffee? I have not tried peach coffee. Wow. That sounds intriguing. Peach coffee. You're going to have to let me know how that tastes. Let me go ahead and take a sip here. Excuse me. Okay. This last year and a half, my allergies have been like crap. All right. So here we have it. Okay. No, that's not the right one. What are you doing? There we go. I hate this mouse. All right. Jedi were never Star Wars' true heroes, and General Grievous proves it. This is by David Miller. It was published about 17 hours ago. The Star Wars Legends origin of General Grievous, and again, it's not Legends, it's basically Star Wars EU, highlight the corruption of the prequel era Jedi, though it doesn't justify Grievous's villainy. So there he goes. So he does say it doesn't justify his villainy. I will point out a lot of key things that they're missing in this article because I read it through. I prepared myself. I read it through so I know exactly, so I don't get too heated and then miss a key point here. So how many of you guys like General Grievous? And how many of you guys in here knows his backstory? Before we move on. Who paid David Miller? I don't know. I know someone in real life whose name is David Miller who lives down the road from me, but this is not the David Miller that I know. Yeah, so I know who he is. He's a native man that lives here, just like down the road from me, just straight down the road from me, like 10 houses down, I think, or maybe even less. Yeah, but I don't know that, this is from Screen Rant. So whoever is the cash, the finances, yeah, whoever, brings out the finances for that. And I'm not getting the correct term for that. But again, what do you know about General Grievous? Is he one of your favorite characters? And I'm going to throw this out there. Which Clone Wars did you like him better in, Tartakovsky's or Filoni's? So I'm just going to throw that out there. And then Bato says, not corrupt, more likely complacent, thinking they were never wrong. We will go with that. We'll go over that too. General Grievous fan right here, the real lore, not the Filoni taint. Okay, so we already know your answer there. I know an Amish guy named David Miller. Hey, wow, okay. There's a lot of David Millers. Well, not a lot, but still. He was, and this is Orange Hat, he was in Battle of Geonosis. Grievous introduction in the Clone War micro series was badass. Yes. And I was trying to get a clip up of that before we start so I can reference that and then use it later on for the show if called upon. But I didn't get to it. So I had so much stuff going on this morning. Corrupt seems like a harsh word, Yeah, we'll go over that. We'll go over what really I think that this person are just using these keywords to trigger people, trigger emotions and stuff like that. And it's not being honest whatsoever. But since when was Screen Rant honest? Well, there was accounts. And like I said, these quote unquote journalist pop culture sites, there is some truth into the direction they're going to make like the old look bad and the new look good. Like I said last week. So pointing those stuff out, even though these are like garbage tier type pop culture journalist sites, there are some truth to where the direction just by looking the way they go and then looking at the company, because sometimes they'll present something before the company does and then they're right on with what the company is saying because there's something going on like under the table, I guess you can say. I don't know, that's just the best way I can describe that. So does this mean this article is probably not, but when you look at the Disney lore, they really make the Jedi look bad. They really took the Jedi in a bad turn when it came to the conclusion of the Clone Wars and stuff. I don't think that George fully intended for that direction, them to go their direction. Yeah, so we'll get into that. Let's see here. Screen Rant, yet another Hollywood shield factory. The answer that answers the question. Let's see here. I wish I had 4 arms. And then OG check DMs. Okay, let me see here. I'm gonna check that real quick. Let's see here. Okay, I got it there. Yeah. Thank you. Let's go ahead and go on with this article here. The tragic and complex origins of General Grievous in Star Wars Legends continuity. I like how they say Legends continuity. So EU may not redeem the murderous Kellish warlord, but it proves how corrupt the Jedi had become by the prequel era. Grievous is a markedly different character in Star Wars now defunct Legends continuity. So this is what kind of got me here. Now defunct Legends, now defunct continuity, right here. And I will say this, I will always say this, everything pre-Disney is canon. They cannot decanonize something that the creator created. Only the creator can do that. And that's George Lucas, right? And he's always said that, like everything that has been created in the EU, with the exception of the retcons and stuff that the company had to do, is canon and stuff. So I'm not going to go into much details and go down that rabbit hole here right now, because that's just a whole topic in itself that can take, more than a minute or two to discuss, but it's funny how they have to throw in this all the damn time to make Disney Star Wars legit. So just like, James Older was like, no disrespect. This is basically the same bullshit that we're seeing here. So with different motivations and posing a far greater threat to the Republic than his post 2000. Yeah, of course there's going to be different motivations. And posing far greater threat to the Republic than the post 2014 canon counterpart. I have not researched his Disney character, so I can't really speak to it because of that, if he is much better now than he was back then. However, those who may have, and if you're in the chat, let me know. And I know some of us will probably speak with some bias, thinking, no, his original character is far better. And his original character in Tartakovsky Clone Wars is far better than what the Clone Wars did to him. So if they went down the path of what Clone Wars depicted of him, he's not better. No, he's not. So let's go on. The original EU era Grievous had every right to hate the Jedi for their role in the Huck War, but the general ultimately became the very monster he'd seen the Jedi as, just as the Jedi Order eventually evolved into the heroes they were always meant to be. So there's a little bit of like, yeah, Luke's new Jedi Order is far more superior than. And let me see what you guys are saying in the comments here. Let's see here. George Lucas forever. Let's see here. Propaganda courtesy of the Sith Empire. Correct. So there we go. And yeah, there. Let's see here. All right, so let's get back to the article. Let me remove this so that I'm not covering anything. And let me close this little article here just in case if my there we go. I was trying to avoid that. There we go. Make sure I'm at the right one. Okay, there we go. Okay. In Legends, okay, yeah. In Legends, Grievous's people, the Kaleesh. So if I'm saying it wrong, Kaleesh, if it's Kaleesh, then I will correct that. I'll start saying it that way. We're at war with the Hook, a technologically advanced and conquering species who invaded Kali. The Hook ruthlessly murdered and enslaved much of the planet's population, leading to a series of uprisings that lasted for generations. Grievous, previously known as Kwaimin Jai Shiel, fought in these uprisings and witnessed their sudden conclusion. Using their connections to the Trade Federation, who were represented by the Republic Senate. So this is before, the PT era, I guess you can kind of say in the remarks of that. The Huck manipulated the Republic into dispatching Jedi Masters to Choka, Dune, and then Jamar. So who quickly won the war for the Huck. Resulting in an extreme reparations and renewed oppression for the Kaleesh, and earning Dune the title Executor of Kali. Grievous developed an understandable hatred of both the Jedi and the Republic, which Count Dooku took advantage of when recruiting him as a separatist to the Separatist Alliance. So there you go. Let me see here. It says Filoni Tate made it so he chose the cybernetics. Real lore has it so Dooku crippled him. Yeah, made him think it was a Jedi and had the body commissioned for him. And I was gonna get into that. So it was Dooku that basically blasted him down, crippled him, and took him in and re-sculpted him into who he is, who we seen him as. So we're going to get into the points here pretty soon. What I want to make with the Jedi, with a General Grievous, and all of that. So stay tuned for that. So you are right. So I was going to get into that, but because you already stated that and I showed it, it's coming into my points that I was going to make. Kaleesh, yeah. So I like to pronounce things differently. Sometimes that's just me. So. And this is proof right here, because he was against the Separatists, but then all of a sudden Dooku recruited him. So yeah, so there you go. As shown in the first issue of Star Wars General Grievous, I believe we did share this on Coffee Chat when we were going through the comics. So let me go ahead and take the comment down here so you guys can see that. All right, so by Chuck Dixon and Rick Leonardi. Grievous gets his revenge on the executioner of Kali, brutally slicing the Jedi Master apart during the Clone Wars on Vondos. According to other EU material, Jamar is present at the battle as well and is killed off panel by Grievous, allowing the Kaleesh cyborg to avenge his people. The Jedi Order's involvement in the Huck War was indefensively corrupt and disastrous, more than justifying Grievous's grudge. But later, General Grievous issue shows that General commits the same atrocities as the Huck during his service to the Separatists. While the Jedi reclaims their heroic status after the Clone Wars, Grievous only becomes worse upon joining the Separatists. So we have we only have one panel here. So that's kind of dishonest here with just showing just one panel and not showing what exactly happened and how Dooku basically was the catalyst and the creator of Grievous, and how he is the one that shot him down, and then took him in and recreated him in, and basically, I guess you could say, manipulated to who he is now. So yeah, so this person did not share a lot of key factors into how Grievous came about, and this is where this article is dishonest in a sense. And then also with the Jedi, they're dishonest. So let me go ahead and finish reading this right here, but I want to go ahead and see what you guys said. Let's see here. Oh, hello, Brett. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us. What's in your coffee? And then let me see what time it is. I might have to, I'm going to close out the poll now. So those who are coming in, go vote. I'll give you another minute. This is your favorite regions of the in the galaxy. The core, which is at 23, inner rim, which is at 4%, mid rim, which is at 27%, and outer rim territories, which is at 46%. So if you guys haven't had a chance to vote, get it in. I'm going to close the polls here. If you don't know about the galaxy regions, maybe you might know at least one from the movies. Maybe. So I'll give you guys a chance to catch up and vote real quick. And I seen Rodimus Prime says that Grievous is worse in Disney canon. See, that I've never went in and researched. I never had a reason to until now. So I'm going to research that. All right. So the poll is going to end now. And it'll pop up and you guys will see the results. So again, everything stands as is. Outer Rim won the poll at 44%. Core at 25, mid rim at 25. So those two are tied. And then inner rim 3%. So there you go. There's the standings on that. So thank you guys for voting. And and if you guys haven't had a chance to share which one is your favorite, which region is your favorite, feel free to share that in the comments. Even right now, I will look at it and check it out. So let's see here. That's good that you're doing good. It's always good to be doing good because sometimes we have those days. Grievous is worse in Disney canon. Yes, that's what I was talking about, what you posted, Rodimus. They never had Grievous with his lightsaber belt in Filoni's tainted product called a show. Yeah, I noticed that too. I noticed that as well. So let's get on with this. Throughout the Star Wars EU that takes place during the prequel era, the Jedi Order has lost much of the moral high grounds, serving as essentially a paramilitary force on behalf of the Galactic Republic. There are reasons why. And guess who is behind those reasons? Do you guys know who is the great manipulator of all of this, even with Grievous and the creator of Grievous? Do you guys know who that is? I think you guys do. So share that in the comments. I'm going to go finish reading this part and I'll go to the comments. The Jedi operate with little to no oversight and have a habit of winning wars for the wrong sides of the conflict, from the Hook Wars to the Mandalorian Civil War. Grievous people were oppressed by Hook, but as a separatist military leader, Grievous goes on to commit the same atrocity. So they already said this already, including on Gantus and shown in in the General Grievous comics when he enslaves and murders the Ugnaughts in Moss. So there we go. Let's see what Orange Hat has to say. They never had. Oh yeah, I already read that one. According to Filoniverse, Grievous was basically Kraven, a warrior and hunter that viewed the Jedi as the ultimate challenge. Yeah, there we go. And then I think this is the last of it, and then we'll discuss everything and why this is dishonest and why they're dishonest for Grievous, Dooku, and the Jedi. So before the outbreak of the Clone Wars, the emotionally broken Grievous had his body ravaged by a shuttle bombing, which was orchestrated, by Dooku. So they finally, I didn't read, like I said, I read this, but I didn't read all the way through, and blamed on the Jedi, furthering Grievous's hatred. Oh, I hate when ads move shit around. And necessitating a stop moving, necessitating significant cybernetic reconstruction. Dooku's machinations seem to have destroyed any potential good left in Grievous, turning him into a monster seen in the Clone Wars era material. The Jedi, meanwhile, overcame their corruption following. So basically, he retracts. Basically, this goes against everything he said before, and his title of this right here. So we're going to get into that. The Jedi, meanwhile, overcame their corruption following their destruction during the Jedi Purge and reestablishment of the New Jedi Order after their original trilogy. The EU New Jedi Order is largely apolitical, simply fighting to help others and serve the Force. Kind of, they still serve the New Republic and the Galactic Alliance, making these Jedi the true heroes of the Star Wars franchise and preventing catastrophes that would create monster like Grievous, General Grievous. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put my face back up. All right, so let's get into this. Oh, Keely. Hey, Keely. How you doing? And then I believe it was Trade Federation who paid for the body. Yeah, it was. So isn't that ironic? It was a Trade Federation with the Hutt fighting the Kalish, enslaving them. And then the Trade Federation asked the Jedi for help. And then Dooku shooting down, nearly killing Grievous, and then they take him in and transform him into the cybernetic person he is, right? So in this article, before we get to the very bottom, they make it sound like it was all the Jedi's fault for who Grievous is, which it wasn't really. And I asked you guys, who do you think the manipulator through all of this is, the one that constructed all of this? And I don't think any of you guys said anything yet. I don't see it whatsoever. And they don't talk about Grievous's wife. Funny. Yeah. So who do you think helped orchestrated all of this? Share with me in the comments. And it could be two people at this time, at one point. It could be two people at one point. Yeah, let's see. Let's see here. Yeah. Well, yeah, Dooku was on behest of Sidious. So it was Sidious, Palpatine, Sidious, and maybe even Plagueis at the time, depending on what we're talking what we're talking about. But basically it was Palpatine who was a mastermind behind everything, even the Jedi and how they responded. So it wasn't that the Jedi were corrupted in the sense of their own vice. They were manipulated. We see that their biggest fault was that they were easily manipulated, and the dark side was basically blinding them. Yeah. And Dooku seen Grievous as a tool, as another weapon. And he took him. He created him into the cyborg terror machine he was, trained him to defeat Jedi. And he was really, really good at that until you get to Filoni Clone Wars, but we're not going to go there. So Tartakovsky's Clone Wars basically shares how well he was defeating Jedi. And then when we get into Revenge of the Sith, you know, and you get into the novel, a little bit of the movie, but in the novel mostly, you know, and they're deciding who to send to bring him in, what have you, or defeat him. You know, Obi-Wan does basically question why he is asked to do that. Because, you know, we have Anakin like, I'm the bestest ever. And I'm just saying that, I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way, because that's just basically his pride was already overrunning him with what Palpatine was planting in his ears, right? So he was like, I'm better suited for this because I'm the strongest, bestest, or whatever. Send me, or at least send me with Grievous. And they're like, nope, we're gonna send Obi-Wan. We're gonna send Obi-Wan. And you know, she's kind of like, there's story behind this that links to her as well. But you know, I'm not going to get into the whole entire lore with it. But and so they send Obi-Wan because of his because he, you know, he's mastered, what form 3 was it? I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but form 3. So he's, you know, basically mastered that. And they seen that he could overcome Grievous and stuff. No other Jedi could. And so there's a bit of story behind that. And it basically gives us, you know, a little bit of backstory with Obi-Wan as well, with his, you know, him mastering one fighting technique and stuff. So there's a bit of history there, you know. So you know, I can go into that. We can get into that and nerd all about like Obi-Wan versus Grievous and stuff. But this is not the point either. You know, we can go so many directions with this, right? But the point I'm coming across is that he was manipulated and made into the monster he is. And he didn't know better. Now, I'm not saying, oh, poor Grievous, because he's long gone. But they made him spite the Jedi because they made him think it was all about the Jedi who did this to him. So Dooku made him hate the Jedi. And yeah, you're right. Dooku truly hated Grievous. Yeah, Dooku was actually quite the speciesist. Yeah, him as, you know, and Palpatine too. But Palpatine tolerated if there's something he can get from them. And one great example of that is Thrawn. Palpatine was xenophobic, but if he can use the species to their ability, he was going to tolerate. He hated non-humans secretly. He loved the idea of human authority. Dooku was jealous of Anakin even before Qui-Gon died. Correct. He was jealous and he was afraid. So you guys read Darth Plagueis novel. That goes into a lot that maybe will answer some of you guys' questions about, you know, the Force creating Anakin, which it did, but there's reasons why the Force did that. And it gets more into that because I think people confuse a lot of that. And then also too about what Dooku thinks, what's going on in his mind when he's talking with Palpatine or Sidious or whatever. So a lot of great lore in that book. Let's see here. Let's see here. And then Soul Assassin does share Tartakovsky's Clone Wars Volume 1. Volume 1 and 2 are both on the internet, on YouTube. I do have my own DVD copies. You can find them, but I think they're getting pricey now. Kenobi was sent after Grievous because the mastery of Form 3, correct, but also because he truly shook Grievous on the bridge of the invisible hand. How Kenobi took control of the situation so easy, correct. So let's get into the Jedi, because we talked a lot about Grievous, how he was manipulated, how he was used, how he was transformed into this cybernetic terror he was, which basically you can say foreshadows like Anakin in a sense of becoming cybernetic in a sense. The Jedi were manipulated as well because the Sith when they were atoning for the 1,000 years, as you hear them talk about in the lore, they also were studying the Jedi. They were planning revenge. Yeah, they were planning revenge, getting to know the Jedi, what their weaknesses was, and Palpatine used that against them. Their weakness was that the Jedi would step up and protect the galaxy, protect peace. And that's what they did. And he orchestrated the war to get them involved, to make them weak, scatter them, so then he can defeat them. So it wasn't that the Jedi were corrupt. He used the very weaknesses against them. And so I think that was very brilliant. So if you never respected Palpatine, when you get into the lore and his machinations, what's going on in his mind, his brilliance, even with his master Plagueis, he's like, he went with the rule of two. He's like, no more bitch. Then he basically killed him because he wanted full control. If you get into his early stages of his life, he was brutal to his family. And so if you didn't have any respect for him or really didn't get into his character, this is giving you some more information about his mindset and like how he thought and what he did, how much of a manipulator he was. He was like in his disguise as his own self, Palpatine. He really made him look like he was passionate. He cared about the galaxy in front of the Senate, in front of like Padme and Bail Organa and, and all of that. They didn't know that he was just putting his pieces down so he can gain control. That's how manipulative he was. And he was brilliant. And let's see here. Batu says, was Dooku xenophobe? Yeah, nobody on the Separatists were human after all. Yeah, he was like Palpatine in a sense where he tolerated to use. And we start seeing xenophobic kind of themes and tropes and what have you as the Dark Times began. And then once we get into the OT and stuff and the EU portion of that, like I said, you got to get into the lore. You see a lot more outside the movies when you get into and submerge into the lore. Yeah. So it's very, very interesting here. But going back to the Jedi, I'm going to read this first and we're going to go back to the Jedi. There were also socially aloof, so it was easy to use war to turn public wariness into derision. Yeah. So going into the Jedi here of the PT era, they noticed that they were getting clouded by the dark side. They sensed that. And so some of their sensibilities that they relied on, was going away in a sense, and that alarmed them. And then they couldn't really like Qui-Gon, they kind of strayed away from a little bit of like all the areas of the Force, like the living Force, they kind of strayed away from. But every Jedi, my own research, every Jedi either, has a connection to a certain point of the Force. So some are more attuned with the life, and the living Force and stuff. And there's like 4 different, there's the cosmic Force, there's the life Force, and there's 2 others. Like there's 4 different like aspects of the Force, and some are more attuned to one than the other, if you really get into the lore behind that. But we're not going to really get into that. So there's another thing that I can present here or present on the channel as lore, all of that. But the Jedi weren't corrupt, they were stagnant. And Yoda even noticed that and talked about that in Revenge of the Sith novel in the chapter New Jedi Order. They were blinded by the dark side, which kind of like numbed them from seeing things that they needed to see and stuff. Yeah, they were too much into politics. and they realized that. But they thought that because they were involved, they thought that it was a good thing, so maybe a misjudgment there, maybe not. But the biggest thing that they Yoda has ever stated was that they were stagnant, that they failed to evolve. And that's their true defeat, was they failed to evolve. The Sith evolved, they failed to evolve. And that even shown in Anakin turning into Darth Vader. Because they failed to evolve, they stay stagnant and dogmatic with some beliefs, like how attachment, like their beliefs in attachment, and having that clouded over, because you could still marry and love and all that, but you have to be able to let go. And they never taught that. Luke in the New Jedi Order did. And so when I discussed about the Matukai and how they preferred Luke's order over the prequel era, the Old Republic order, there was reasons, because he evolved. It wasn't too astringent. It wasn't too dogmatic, in a sense, I guess you can say. They were evolving. And that's what the order needed. And that's what Luke did, with the help of his sister, with the help of with Mon Mothma and them, because Mon Mothma gave Luke the blessing in the New Jedi Order, I believe. Not the New Jedi Order, I'm sorry, the Jedi Academy, when he went and presented to her that he was going to start searching for Jedi, and he wanted their blessing. And he got that. So, a little history there on top of that. And so looking back, we're going to get into this topic now before we start closing out. Looking back with the old Jedi Order and what we see in the movies with the PT era portion of them, and how they fell because they failed to evolve, versus Luke's order, where even he still did question where Jedi were supposed to marry, because that was something that he never really connected two until later on in his life. But that correction helped the Jedi a lot and created a stronger order. So do you guys agree with that, with Luke, on being able to marry and have families and stuff? He still, when he became Jedi Grand Master, he did a proposition to them, basically saying that the order is always going to come first. And then there's your family and everything. Now, I'm not telling you I'm not telling you to give up your families and stuff. I'm telling you that when we need you, the order comes first. So let me know in the chat here. I'm trying to create a nice conversation between the old and the new. Do you think Luke's direction with families and having wives or husbands and stuff, do you think that was a good correction? I probably know your guys' answer now, but I just wanted to see what you guys say. Okay, so Brett says, what's the novel after Revenge of the Sith? Dark Lord, Rise of Darth Vader, and then Kenobi. So those two run parallel, but one's about Darth Vader after, and one's about Kenobi. They're not together because they're not supposed to be together. So you choose which one you want to start with first. I like both. Let's see here. Orange Hat says, changed the Sith did. Changed the Jedi did not, because let it, I did not. Correct. And I highly recommend that novel. Revenge of the Sith novel is one of the best EU novels. Even though it's a movie novel, it's also considered an EU novel. It's one of the best EU novels in the EU. And if you guys want to hear a conversation about that, check out my interview on Expanded University. It's a podcast on Orange Hat Reviews channel. So go check that out. If Soul Assassin, if you want to pull up that link and share it, please do. Let's see here. Made it for the stream. By the way, Alora, are you going to post the screenshot about Mara Jade you were going to do? You were going to? What was that? I forgot now. Sorry. Are you going to post that screenshot about Mara Jade you were going to? I forgot. Let me see. Where did I post that at? Let's see here. I don't recall. I don't remember that now. Let's see here. I totally forgot. I'm sorry, Iron Inquisitor. I'm sorry. Okay, Batu says, very good correction. After all, he had his family. Why can't the others? Besides, Cadus only gave up his fight because he loved Alana more than he hated Jaina, you know. I don't know if it was hate against Jaina, other than that, of course, any parent's gonna want to, no matter if it's right or wrong, gonna want to, want to protect their kids and stuff like that. So that's a very, very interesting comment. Oh, it was about Lucas saying he didn't like it. Oh, yeah, I will get that to you. I've shared information about that before. I have to pull up that as well. But let's see here. Jedi kind of modeled it after the Mandalorian culture, family and love, sure. But when the Jedi call, you were expected to answer. Like the Mandalorians, when Mandalore calls, you answer, correct. And so that's what Luke kind of did. I think that maybe he didn't do that purposefully. Yeah. And then also with how Jedi were recruited, old versus new. And this goes back to the Rusan Reformation, where they started recruiting very, very young. To at one point, they were, going to families and taking the kids. And usually families, more than likely families, thought it was an honor that their kid was Force sensitive, and they turned their kids over. There was instances where the families refused to. And yes, the Jedi did get in trouble, which then by the time the PT era came, they had to kind of switch up how they handled that kind of stuff. So this is just in brief. There's a huge little culture or story lore behind all of that. But when you get into Luke Skywalker and his recruitment, he was recruiting for sensitive, not for age, but for ability. Even if you had just an inkling essence of a Force ability, he was recruiting you if you wanted to come in. He did not just take you. I know Tion Salusar, basically, she wasn't that Force. She wasn't very strong in the Force. However, she was strong enough, I guess you can say, just like Corran Horn. And, she became the historian, the lore keeper, basically. And, she was recruited. And she also was a trainer, a teacher at the Praxium for Padawans and younglings as well. Very interesting there as well. So here that is. So if you guys have a chance, go listen to mine and Open Airlock Policy's discussion on Revenge of the Sith novel. I think in sometime in the future, we are going to do a part 2. There was so much to do to uncover, talk about, that there were some things we later were talking and we're like, we missed this or we missed that. So we're going to go back and do a part 2 sometime in the future. I can't really give you a time frame with that, but I'm looking forward to that because, again, this is one of the most epic novels of the EU, movie and EU related. So I highly recommend that novel. And I recommend the Audible because it's unabridged. But as always, no matter what, read it first. However, if you don't have the time and it's easier for you to listen to, that I recommend. The novels that were abridged, like the X-Wing series, that of the old, I would say read first before you get into the Audible. Lucasfilm needs to bring Mara Jade in live action Star Wars, and I disagree with you on that, sweetie. I do. All they can do is just change their character, and she's just going to be a shell of who she is, just like Thrawn and them are. Yeah. So Dead Man Walking, hello. Hi, just lurking today. Well, thank you for coming in, another channel member as well. I appreciate you and everybody else as well who are subscribers as well as channel members. You guys make this channel possible. We are here nerding out about Star Wars lore, and I'm so thankful for that. This is what this channel is about. Yeah, so you guys, question is here. What do you like about the old order of the PT era? And so I'm switching it on you guys. And what did you not like about the new Jedi Order? So this is kind of a tough question here. So what do you like about the old order of the PT era? And then what do you do not like about the new Jedi Order, the new order of post Return of the Jedi era? Yeah. So I'm kind of switching on you, giving you guys a very tough question here. So we have 20 beautiful souls here. Thank you guys for tuning in and getting in this conversation and sharing your thoughts, your opinions, whether we agree or not. That's okay. So again, what do you like about the PT era Jedi Order? And what do you not like about the new order? The old order, I like their resources. The new order, I like the rules. Okay, so what did you not like about the new order? So I switched it up. The old order you liked, and so what did you not like about the new order? I kind of switch it up on you because everybody seems to favor the new Jedi Order over the old, and there's reasons for, because Lucas had to share reasons for why Anakin fell to the dark side. The main reason is because of Palpatine's manipulation. That he used a young man's pride against him and saying, you're too powerful, that's why they are threatened by you. And he's talking about the council. Yeah, Mace was harsh on Anakin. I don't think he hated Anakin. I believe he was harsh and that he expected more of him. And I think that Anakin still had a lot to do in growth. And the council wanted him to grow, not in the Force, because that's a given, because he's the most powerful at the time, but maturity-wise. And Anakin was showing, even in Revenge of the Sith, he wasn't as mature as they needed him to be as a master. And that's why they didn't appoint him master yet. And then plus, even though he did a lot with the Clone Wars and stuff, they still wanted that maturity. They still wanted him to be proven because of that. Let's see here. I like the centralism of the PT Order, and there's nothing I don't like about the New Order. Okay, that's fair. The New Order played too loose with their willingness to be used in the military actions. Oh yeah, you have a point there. And that could be like how the PT were too loose in political actions. There you go. Well, and then I will go one more. Then towards the end of Legacy, before we have that time expansion of, let's say Legacy of the Force, going into Fate of the Jedi. So during that time frame, Luke then started coming to the conclusion that they needed to fight for the galaxy as a whole, maintain peace and order, I guess you can say, than serving the government as as another fighting society, I guess you can say, or military group, I guess you can say. So that eventually evolved, and I wish, if we didn't have the buyout, I'm curious to see what direction the Order would have gone with after that. Well, one thing about the old Order, the traditional outfits were nice, and the archives made it clear they valued learning, right? Yeah. I like the politics of the old Order and the council. I don't know much about the new Order. Okay. All right. I would encourage you to start. Hopefully you'll start picking up the books of Post Return of the Jedi and start reading about that, the new Order and stuff. And this is why I'm here, so that we can learn together, right? So Solo Assassin says, Old Order was high on politics and tradition. New distanced themselves from the politics. Yeah. At one point, though, they were kind of in the politics. And I think that was in the New Jedi Order when Omos came into the forefront as a political leader. And Big Raj, thank you so much again. Always here to support with the super sticker. Thank you so much, Canadian 199. Thank you for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All right. Orange Hat says, one of my favorite moments was in Luke's era when Ben called him out on his blind fighting of Imperial remnants. Did you ever consider they were people just following orders out of fear? Oh yeah, that him when Ben questioned Luke and Mara, man, that kind of like polarized everything for them. And I love their conversation about that afterwards. That was a polarization of things right there, and that really hit them hard in the gut in a sense. I also liked when Luke was mourning in, I think it was Fury, when Luke was mourning and was stuck in attachment and was mourning the loss of Mara on Endor, and Ben put him in his place. Ben got up in his face, put him in his place, and snapped his father out of that. His father at the time, Grand Master. I think that was glorious. And it gave us an example of what attachment really is, and how you could still love and be married and stuff and not be attached and have to let go. And that's the thing. That's the hardest thing a human can. And I believe it even in Star Wars. I'm not trying to insert myself our real life into Star Wars, but there is some connection to that a little bit. But I thought that was a great scene there, and I did do a EU clip on that as well, so you guys check that out. But Ben Skywalker, that's when he became a Jedi Knight, and that was amazing. That was a great little scene there, a great read in the book. I highly recommend that as well. Soul Assassin says the difference between the old and new, and then he shares a link. So go ahead check out that link as well. My goal, and it's always been the same, and there's times in a person's life that shit slows you down, right? But my goal is to be able you to come to my channel, and you can click on a video with some history, some points and stuff about Star Wars, whether it's old versus new order, blah, blah, blah. There's only one of me, and outside of YouTube and my content creation here on social media, I am a very busy woman lately. There's a lot of good things, and there's some things that happened to me that were bad that I am like, it's being resolved, and I am, coming out of that and stuff. And so this year 2022 has been rough on me, and I apologize for not doing much lore videos and stuff like that. It's been a crazy. I'm hoping 2023 is much smoother content creating, and in my personal life and stuff as well. So let's see here. One thing that I didn't like about the new order was a lack of communication. There was Jedi going off on their own to do their own but no one was else knew where they were to help if needed. That was something that was going on in the New Jedi Order. And then once you get into the Darkness trilogy, Luke's like, I had enough, because he knew that the Jedi had to get out and serve the galaxy, right? So he was allowing that. And but there was times, like you said, that they weren't there when truly needed because they were off on their own missions and stuff. So that went extreme, kind of, in a way. So Luke had to take control of that. And he did. And that's when he's like, I'm stepping up as Grand Master. And he proposed that choosing the order over everything else, like the order comes first, basically. I'm not saying choosing the order over everything else. The order comes first, then it's your family, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm not saying you can't have family, you can't have love, you can't have other interests. The order does come first. So when you're called upon. So he really had to rein in that. And I think that was a nice evolution of that. And so very interesting thing right there. Like, you can literally see the evolution of the new order from the past old order and how strong it was. But you know what? the new and the old, they weren't perfect, because we know eventually that the new Jedi Order sees defeat in Legacy. And I'm very curious to see like what exactly led up to that, but we will never know now, so. And the Batu says, the new order, worst thing is that they seem to coughs. Well, there must be something bad about them. There must be something bad. There we go. Let's see here. I think, and there's, so Soul Assassin stored up a lot of information resources for you guys to check out. Thank you so much. I think Anakin's fall was fall of everyone, not just Anakin's. It was a fault of the Jedi because of the rules. It was Palpatine's fault because of the reasons we know, and it was also Anakin's fault. There's a lot of going into play with that, but Anakin knew. Overall, he knew the rules, and he went against them. So is it really the Order's fault, where he could have walked away and had his family? But what he did was he kept it secret. He kept everything secret. And not being truthful in a situation does cause a lot of problems. Now, take Palpatine away out of that, I think you would have a whole different scenario. I think so. And if you take Palpatine out of that, I really think that maybe Anakin and Padme wouldn't have even got together, because he kind of manipulated that as well, in a sense, because he's the one that kind of like coaxed Anakin and being her bodyguard on Naboo. Yeah. So I still point everything back to Palpatine in a sense, because he manipulated everything. Yeah. Let's see here. And you guys may disagree with me, and I got to scroll down. So I'm getting to your guys' comments here. There must be something not to like about Luke's order, right? You're like, right? Is there? I have the Heir to the Empire trilogy. Sadly, it's the only Star Wars books I've owned except for a couple of Vader's graphic novels. Okay. There's so much to invest in, depending on which way you want to go. Orange Hat says, Luke snapped out of it, but only because he realized his perceived vengeance against Lumaya brought him no closure. Ben was more wise than any Disney characters created today. Correct. And I thought that was a great moment for Ben and his father, because we do see Ben and Luke kind of having a push and pull in the beginning of Legacy of the Force because of Jason using and manipulating him. Yeah, so that's very interesting. Again, Legacy of the Force is one of my favorite series of the EU. So, and the New Jedi Order as well, because you get a lot of world building and character development. And we're not just seeing, like with New Jedi Order, we're not just witnessing the Empire, the remnant of the Empire, or Empire remnant, versus the New Republic or Galactic Alliance, like the same old. We are getting a new threat. And this threat even threatens the Jedi Order. And I think that is great world building in itself. And you get a lot of deaths, even with characters that you expect not to die, like legacy or lead characters and stuff like that, And one of the biggest things was Chewie dying. I think that was some make or break for some people with that. Let's see here. When George, and this is Rodimus, when George Lucas was asked about Anakin's scar and about the Master Saifu Diaz plot, he said, go to the books for the answers, which means he considered the EU canons some sense. Yeah. So basically, like with the New Jedi Order, he's like, you can kill off, don't kill off Luke. You can kill off Han, Leia. And they're like, what about Chewie? He's like, yeah, go ahead. So basically those are the things that he was like, go ahead and do that. And then he also changed the plot around because of who he wanted to live and not live when it came to the kids. And there's reasons, and some of the reasons I'm like, like two Anakins existing in the time frame, I think people were smart enough to know one would be the grandkid and one would be the grandfather. But I think he wanted, I think he, didn't want that confusion or what have you. I don't know. But he pointed fingers towards Jason to being the predominant Skywalker solo child. Then it started evolving into Jaina. And then when you look into like his quote unquote story treatments, the next protagonist of the coming generation was female. So put two and two together, but I'm not going to get into that, those politics of that. Can't, and Iron Inquisitor says, can't think of a single major negative thing about Luke's New Jedi Order so far from what I've read in the EU. I posed a difficult question, and I did that for a reason, to get you guys thinking. Yeah, to get you guys thinking. Let me go ahead and get this off here. There you go. All right. It says, Anakin didn't walk away because he still wanted to do the good for the galaxy and fight for the good. But in the films, it's clear he wanted to leave the order after the war. Kind of, yeah, I guess maybe. Yeah, and then he also sacrificed, I wouldn't say sacrificed himself, maybe, to find a way to save his wife in childbirth. And but then Palpatine also planted that pride, like stroked the pride stroked the pride, and Anakin wanted more and more power. That pride, he's like, you're the strongest, this and that and that and this. He really planted that in him, and Anakin wanted more power. And so there's so many little dynamics in that. It's crazy. So many. Let's see here. Orange Hat says, I love how the New Jedi created a new purpose for the Death Star. How Sidious knew of the Vong to a degree and wanted to be ready when they showed up. Mm-hmm. Now, would it be able to defeat them? I think when they were talking with the Moffs, and Pelion was talking with the Moffs after his ship was destroyed and he was being nursed back to health, basically from death. He was talking with them, and they're like, if they, the New Republic, if they would have defeated us, we were strong enough, blah, 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 to get rid of the Vong. And he's like, that ragtag people who defeated the Empire, do you think we were strong enough to defeat the Vong? But yet this little ragtag rebellion is the one that came in and defeated such a big empire. So he kind of threw it back at him, saying, you know what, they probably would have been more successful still. So I thought that was very interesting. I would love to just sit down and just do a New Jedi Order talk with you guys. Maybe we will. Maybe one coffee chat, we will discuss the New Jedi Order and go through the novels and stuff like that. I think that would be something fun to do. Anakin says, I think Anakin and Padme would have ended up together even without Palpatine's manipulation, because Anakin was already in love with Padme. But I don't think she was in love with him until a little bit later. So, but that's just something to debate. So he would still searched for her at one point. Maybe, who knows? The Force is female, OG. Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Scroll down. All right, you guys. So we're coming up on 2 hours here. I love to keep this within 2 hours. It just gives us enough time to chat and talk, and interest, starts peaking after starts waning or leaving after 2 hours. So maybe in the near future we'll do a New Jedi Order talk on Coffee Chat and discuss. Maybe it needs to be a 2-part. And but I think that's a good thing to discuss there as well. I love this old order versus new order chat. I think that's something that we'll always go back to and discuss, because there's so many views, there's so much you can talk about on that, and everybody has their own perspective, and we learn from each other, and that's what this is about. We learn from each other. I can't say it without or I can't say it would have made much a difference, but it certainly would have helped. The New Republic didn't do too well without it, after all. Without what? Let me see here. Let me scroll up. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, he did tell him in episode 1 that he was going to marry. Yeah, I remember that. But without the manipulation of Palpatine, I'm just like, we're going into what if topic here, which is very, very fun as fans. That's what we do. But that's just also foreshadowing that they do. So very interesting. Yeah. Jackson, how are you doing? Sometimes I think about if Anakin had actually broken down and asked Obi-Wan for help, there could have been a novel reference for a solution like that final vial of Botas serum bears recovered. That's the thing too. It's like we get into like these what ifs, like scenarios, and like, what if Anakin really did reach out? Because by the end we knew Obi-Wan suspected or knew, and stuff. So if he reached out, what could have been, right? What could have been? Now, if Palpatine wasn't such a big manipulator in Anakin's pride and stuff, and setting up, moving the chess pieces on where Anakin needs to be versus Obi-Wan and all that other stuff, then, what could have been, very interesting conversations here. And you guys, I love this because we all have our what ifs, with the reasonings and the context of what we were provided in the movies and stuff. This was a wonderful chat. As someone who is just starting to explore the EU, I'm finding this exciting. I'm so happy, Crimson Mist. Stay tuned. Every coffee chat, we get into Star Wars some way, shape, or form and have a nice discussion. That's what coffee chat is about. It's not just me reading articles and asking for your opinions. Cringe Factor is basically just giving some light to the direction that Star Wars is going, basically. Let's see here. All right, you guys. So thank you guys so much. Again, there's a lot of things to think about now. You can find me on my Twitter page. The main page, I discuss a lot more than just Star Wars, but it's mainly about George Lucas era Star Wars. I do have other things, like just recently, this last weekend, my community just had a big, huge powwow. I shared some videos from that. I do like to share bits and pieces about myself, because then it gets you guys to know me more on a personal basis, so that when you come to my channel, you're like, yeah, okay, I vibe with her. So what's crazy is that on my Twitter account, within the last few days, within a week, maybe, or less than a week, I've lost 43 followers. And I don't know if it's just because maybe these people were bots. I don't know. Or maybe because I posted native stuff. I don't know. Maybe because of my opinion on Prey. I don't know. But yeah. So who knows about that? I'm just finding it funny and interesting that this is happening during this time. However, I'm still here on Twitter. Even if I get down to 1, I'm still here for you guys, sharing Star Wars and all that. And then I have my YouTube community channel, which you become a member of or be a part of. It's George Lucas Era. It's basically in tandem to this channel here. And it creates a conversation between you guys. I think it's easier for me to maintain than a Discord, because then I have to go between different social media apps, I guess you can say. And I just don't have the time for that. I don't. I thought about doing a Discord, but I just don't have time. I barely go onto the Discords that I am a member of. And yeah, so I'm kind of being absent in some of them, which require you to be involved in. So if I'm kicked out, I'm kicked out. Yeah, so follow me on my YouTube community page there. And like, if you're getting started with Star Wars, the EU, George Lucas era, ask questions. We have plenty of knowledgeable people in there, including myself, that can point you the right way. If you have questions about the lore, we can answer that. We can create discussions around some pieces and stuff. Very fun. And yeah, so find me there. Find me here on my channel. Tonight, I am hosting Babe the Menace, which is not Star Wars related, but it's a group of women discussing pop culture, news, what have you, which you will find me not as reformed here. I do say some crazy stuff because that's how I am. I'm a little bit more reformed here. Soul Assassin can kind of agree. So find me here with my gals on Babe the Menace at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. So you get 2 of me today on my channel, along with a panel of some smart, fun, exciting women that will make you laugh. We engage in your conversations as much as we can if we don't get too serious into a topic. So stay tuned for that as well. So thank you guys again. Let me see here. Oh, I have lost some too because we defended Prey. And maybe that's it. But I don't care. I'm gonna be truthful to you guys about a lot of things. And if I think something isn't woke and I'm pointing out why, I think a lot of people misinterpret this woke in Prey for not knowing native lore and how well they used it. But that's another topic. Again, I might do a review. I never do movie reviews, but I think for the sake of knowing my culture and basically teaching it for 15 plus years of my life, culture enrichment and stuff like that, I think that maybe I could put a valid spin on what's going on with Prey. It's bad writing. There's instances of bad writing and bad choices, but that doesn't mean it's woke. But again, that's for another topic. Again, thank you guys so much for OG at the Movies video idea. Thank you so much. But thank you guys again for tuning in to Coffee Chat. Next Wednesday, because I just totally lost track of time yesterday. There was so much going on. Next Wednesday will be HollowNet Journal, where we discuss events and all that surrounding George Lucas' era of Star Wars for the month of August. So you'll get a bit of history. HollowNet Journal is about this time in the past of Star Wars. So stay tuned for that. You may learn stuff from that, which is the point as well. And then Talking EU is going to be coming back as well. So stay tuned for that. So I'm so excited for Talking EU. That has been another live show where I interview Star Wars fans, especially those ones who are, and I do make exception to those who are starting the EU because it gives a whole new perspective. But people who are really into the EU fans, EU elitists, or what have you. So stay tuned for that, for the schedule and that for the first one in a very long time. I really enjoy having those conversations with you. So you guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure at this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
Another happy landing.